Got a sure one for you. Happened when I was about 9 years old. It's Christmas, and the year before I found out that Santa wasn't the one bringing me my presents. I was up and out of my room one night when I saw my dad bringing unwrapped presents through the back door. I wasn't shocked. I was pretty mature for my age. What I didn't do was tell my dad I saw him. Now let's get to Christmas after that. Now I know what's going on, but I wanted to be mischievous. I waited, acted like I didn't know what was going on, and snuck out to open one of my presents. All I wanted was the PS2. My grades were good. I didn't get into too much trouble, so I knew my parents had to give me that. That's like the main thing I asked for. I peeked down my room, and the house is quiet. Tiptoeing to the front room, I see this massive shadow blocking the light from the Christmas tree. Okay, I think, well, Dad must be putting more Christmas presents up. As I do have siblings, I peek around the corner. I'm laying on the floor just in case he's looking this way. I peek around and see this guy, gotta be at least 7 feet tall. His head almost over the tree. His back is to me, and I can't see his face. I wouldn't have known who he was anyways, because nobody in my family is that tall. Apart from being tall, he was wide. Very wide. Again, almost covering the tree. Whoever this was had this long black trench coat on, all black. The coat looked like it was wet, and it was dripping something onto the carpet my parents had down. I of course got scared and began to crawl back around that corner. Before I could make it fully around, this guy turns slightly to the side and says, "Well, if the dad can come back." What the fuck does that mean? Last thing I remember is running back to my room, staying up all night listening, and having an uncomfortable Christmas that morning. It definitely wasn't worth it for a PS2. I still get random nightmares about it. When I was around 16, I woke up one night to go to the bathroom. The bathroom door was across the hall from my bedroom, with the main bedroom at the end of the hall. I got out of bed and was only thinking of going to do my business and coming back to bed. I stepped out into the hall though. I was overcome with a sense of dread, like something was coming up behind me. It was not the first time I had the feeling in the hall. I had experienced it many times over the years. Sometimes daytime, sometimes night. There was never any reason as to why I will sometimes get that feeling. And as soon as you will step out of the hall to another room, the feeling will go away. This night I just did the usual and hurried quickly into the bathroom and went to close the door behind me. But it wouldn't close. It stopped about an inch from closing, like something was blocking it from moving further. My first thought was, it was likely my dad. He must have been in the way to the bathroom too, coming from the main room. I explained why I thought someone was behind me, and was now playing one of his jokes. I couldn't have been more wrong. I opened the door to see a dark hooded shape with bright yellow eyes looking straight at me. The skin was dark and had a similar texture as the skin on a bird's foot. I went to slam the door, but it still wouldn't close. I tried opening it a small way and slamming it a few times before I noticed there was something sticking in near the latch. It looked like a scalpy misshapen finger with a long black nail. I tried slamming it a few more times until the finger finally withdrew. I quickly locked the door. That is when the whole door started to shake. Over the next 20 to 30 minutes, I heard it speaking in my mother's voice. At first, nicely asking me to open the door, but quickly turning nasty, saying things my mother would never say. Even the way it gradually faded away, sounding like it was going off into the distance, didn't make sense. Once the door stopped shaking and my mother's voice was gone. After about 5 minutes where I was trying to calm myself down, I left the bathroom. The house felt calm. I looked to my parents' room and saw they were both asleep. Then I went back to my room and hoped for the best. Nothing else happened that night or anything even close ever again. I didn't know if it was a dream. It didn't feel like it. Everything was as it really was, but no strange little differences you expect in a dream. And also while I had been in the bathroom, I had tried to move a big wooden cabinet full of shampoo bottles and other things my mom has stocked up on and was unable to move it even a bit. The next day I tried to move it again with the same results. I had never tried to move it before. To this day I don't know what it was, but it was an experience I'll never forget. This had happened to me about 6 years ago. I was doing my usual routine of walking around town for a few hours, as I enjoy walking, and I was getting my steps in for the day. I'd always start from my house and walk around town for a few hours, then turn around and head back home. I'd always go walking around noon or an hour or two later at the latest. My walk will start at 11 a.m. at the earliest or 2 p.m. at the latest. This day in particular, I had a bunch of things to do, so I was unable to go out walking before noon. I'd eventually finish everything that I needed to do, but it was already in the mid to late afternoon. I checked the time and it was almost 3 p.m. I debated whether or not if I should go walking or if I should go tomorrow instead, since I had nothing going on the next day. I said fuck it, and decided to go for a walk, but I told myself that I had to cut it short, since I didn't want to be out after sunset, since it will be pretty cold at night. I got dressed and headed out to get my walk in for the day. Fast forward almost 3 hours later, I looked at my phone to check the time, saw that it was almost 6 p.m., and started to make my way back home. I had a bit of problem, which was I was about 6 miles away from my house, and it will take me about an hour and a half or more to get there. The sun had fully gone down, and there was only a faint orange glow in the sky from it. The night sky had begun to take over, and the air was turning cold. I began to make my way home, and had picked up the pace as I didn't want to be outside when it was cold. I was about 2 miles away from my home, and I thought I was in the clear when I was wrong. I passed by a convenience store when I noticed a man sitting on the side of the building smoking a cigarette. The man looked to be in early to mid-30s, wore a black hoodie, black pants, and black shoes. I saw him turn his head towards me, and he gave me a blank stare. I thought nothing of it and just ignored it. I turned around a few moments later and saw he had gotten up from his spot and began walking the same direction I was going. I kept checking behind me often to see if he would turn down another street, but he never did. After several minutes of him walking the same way as me, I hear the man start yelling, "Hey!" He then started saying other stuff to try to get my attention, which I ignored. Right after that I heard him yell, "What the fuck?" at me in an angry tone. I sped up and didn't dare to look back at that point. I texted my dad and explained that there's some creepy guy following me, and how he was yelling at me. My dad replies asking me how far I am. I say about less than a mile away. He replies back that to keep walking. Don't worry, and that he'll come and get me in the next few minutes. I turned behind me to see if he's still following me, as he stopped yelling, and he was. Unfortunately, I was 3/4 of a mile away from my house, and I thought about just running there. At the same time, I didn't want this guy to follow me and find out where I lived. I was about to turn down the street I live at, when something told me not to. I texted my dad and told him I passed the street, and to go the other way, which he replies, "Okay." I kept going forward passing the street when all of a sudden I heard some kind of frantic noise. I turned around only to see, to my horror, that guy put his hood up and was sprinting straight towards me. Without hesitation, I bolted straight ahead and ran across the street. I kept running for what it felt like hours, until I saw a pair of headlights coming down the street. I waved my arms like a madman, hoping they will see me. Thankfully they did, and the car stopped. I got closer and saw it was my dad. I looked behind me, only to see that the man who was chasing me has somehow disappeared. I got in the car and explained everything to him. He said that he was going to drive down the street to see if he could find the man and will confront him. We drove down the street only to see nobody walking on the sidewalk or hiding behind the bushes. There was no sign of anyone being out as the streets were empty. From that day on, I never go out walking after 2 p.m. And I since then carry a pocket knife with me whenever I go out walking for my own safety and protection. I don't know what that man would have done to me had he caught me, and I don't think I ever want to know. When I was in my early 20s, my date and I decided to go to the Sail Inn in West Sacramento to play pool. We'd been there before and enjoyed speaking with the bartender. I can't recall her name, but she was a beautiful, engaging woman. This particular night, we walked in and noticed the pool table was occupied. There was a man and woman shooting a game, so my date bought us some drinks while I watched. After a few minutes, the man noticed me and struck up a conversation with me. When my date came over with our drinks, the man asked us if we wanted to shoot a game with them. It didn't occur to me at the time that his female companion hadn't yet said anything. We said yes, so he racked up the balls and we played against them. During the game, we introduced ourselves, and right after the man began asking me some personal questions, like where did I live, had my date and I been dating long, they would live together, etc. I noticed the man and his friend kept looking at each other. I became increasingly uncomfortable, even though the rest of the conversation was benign and pleasant in nature. Really, the woman still hadn't said anything. When the game was over, the man asked us if we wanted to leave with them to go to another bar down the street. At first I didn't say anything. The guy asked us again, saying they discovered a cool bar not far from where we were. My date and I looked at each other, and before he could say anything, I blurted out, "No thanks, we have dinner plans." We in fact did not have plans, but my date didn't argue with me. I think he saw the look of panic on my face. We both grabbed our jackets and got the hell out of there. By the time we walked out the door, the hair was literally standing on the back of my neck. When we got back to my truck, my date asked me what's wrong. I told him I got a horrible feeling from those people and just knew we had to get away from them. I told him it was weird that he asked us to leave with them when he didn't check with his date first. He shrugged and said okay. He thought I was crazy. A few days later, when I opened up the afternoon paper, there was an article in there about a woman from West Sacramento who'd been found murdered. I didn't think anything of it until I got to the page where the article was continued, and the picture of the woman practically leaped off the page. It was the beautiful bartender from the Sail Inn. Apparently she'd been kidnapped, raped, and killed the very night I was there with my date. I was literally creeped out and thought what a crazy coincidence that was. But how sad it was that she had died so horribly. It wasn't until a month or so later that I realized why I had gotten so upset that night. A man and woman had just been arrested for the bartender's murder, along with the murder of several other people, 4 of whom were couples. They are on the front page of Sacramento Bee, with a picture of the killers, Harold and Charlene Gallego, the very couple who invited my date and I to go with them to another bar, and apparently, this was one of the ruses they used to get their victims into their van. My heart did flip-flops in my chest as I read the article. Not only had we been targeted as their next serial killer victims, when we turned them down, they selected another target because of me. I had lived with both release and guilt all my life because of this. Intellectually, I know it's not my fault the bartender died, but I've always wondered how different the world would have been had she been able to live out her life, even though I would have been gone myself. Needless to say, that was the end of my bar date experiences for a long, long time. If you come for the first time, please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon for our upcoming scary stories. Please share these stories with your friends and family. We need your support. Thanks.